Hi and welcome back to another video of jPlay. I am Marcus and today I'm going to walk you through a couple of rounds of Sakura, which recently launched on Kickstarter. The game has been designed by Chaba Hegedus and I'm really hoping that I'm pronouncing this name correctly. And it's being published by A Games, the guys behind the awesome Avaroma. Every spring the cherry trees blossom all over Japan. The Japanese celebrate this occasion as according to their traditions, the goddess of Fuji Mountain, Konohana Sakuya Hima, revives the fallen flowers at this time. The cherry flower is a symbol of vitality. It is called Sakura. Sakura is a pretty straightforward, fast, mean, but absolutely fun little game. It really can be played in about maybe 20 to 30 minutes, again depending on the player count apparently. And today walk you through a couple of rounds of a 3-player game here. And obviously you are looking at prototype components, even though the artwork on what you see so far already looks pretty cool. I like this style a lot, to be honest. And the goal of the game is to score the least amount of, let's call it, victory points. What is a victory point? Those are those nice little shuriken icons here. So whenever you get a card like this into your so-called, I think, trick pile, that's a bad thing. You don't want to see those. On the other hand, there are cards which provide you gold. That's a good thing. And they don't provide you any negative or victory points in this case. So again, these are cards that you don't want to see in your trick pile. And at the end of each round, you're basically tallying up all your shurikens and then you write them down at this point in time. Then you play the next round. And normally you play that many rounds as you have players playing the game. In this 3-player demo here, you would play 3 complete rounds, and then whoever has the least amount of those shuriken will actually be the winner. This area here is more or less the main playing area, and right now that's already a relatively good starting point, at least this side here, but I explain you everything as I go. This is pretty much the starting scenario. On top of the playing area you have those citizens here. I think there are a couple of them available. What do we have? 15 different citizens cards. Right, they all are unique in respect to their powers. As far as I can remember, they are somewhat similar. For example, this cook here, he comes with a +1, with a +2 and a +3 and so on. And also the samurai has some, let's say, similar abilities, but overall they're really all unique. You can buy those guys or hire those guys during your turn. You have to use them immediately, and then at the end of your turn, basically this whole selection gets replenished. The cost of those cards is pretty simple: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 koku, and each of the players starts the game with exactly 5 of those coins. And then we are already good to go. Each of the players in a 3-player game starts the game with 12 of those cards. They come in, I think, 4 different colors, and each color has pretty much numbers ranging from 1 to 13. And yeah, this is our starting hand, and during your turn you will always play 2 cards. No matter what, if you can play those legally or not, but you will definitely play always 2 cards, because as soon as you only have 2 more cards available on your hand, this will also trigger the end of the round, and yeah, that's pretty much it. In respect to playing those cards, you have to look at those symbols here. On this pile here, you have to play a card that is lower value, so in this case 12 or lower, and it has to be a yellow card as well. If you don't have that card, you can still replace this card with a different 13 of another color. So you could not play another yellow 13 on this card, but for example, you could play another white card on top of this. So this would be totally legal, and you also have to be aware that you have to play cards to both piles. So you cannot play simply 2 cards on the right hand pile. No, you always have to play a card left and right. So in this case, I think I do not want to play this 13 as of now. Again, here we have to play a card that is of a lower value, and it has to be a yellow card. So let's place this card here. So this is perfectly legal. We place it directly on top of it. So that's already the right hand pile. And on the left hand pile, we have to play a card that is higher than this 9. Of course, we could also play a 9 of a different color, but in this case, I think we should be good. We should be able to play a card. So this is a red 12 played on top of this. And this is already the end of my turn. I would have been able to hire 1 or more of those citizens during my turn. This can be before I play any card, between I'm playing cards, at the end of my turn, doesn't really matter, but keep in mind I only can play them when it's my turn, and I have to play the effect of the card immediately. So I cannot just buy it and keep it whatever for my next turn or so. But this is already the end of my turn. Let's move over to player 2. In this case, he also starts the game with 5 of those coins here, and he also has to play 2 cards, and I think he should be able to do so. So here he can play either a 13 or a red 13, or he can play a 12 of a different color. In this case, he will place a black 12 here. And on the right hand side, I think he will play a yellow 4. Of course, the lower the numbers get on this right hand side, the more difficult it will be to play an even lower card on that. Of course, you can always play again a 4, for example, of a different color. And there's also an additional rule: when there would be a 1 on this side here, for example, let's say a yellow 1, then you could start all over again the other way around. Then you could also play a yellow 13 again, and the same would be true on the other side here. So when we had, let's say, a black 13 on this one here, the next player could also play a black 1 on top of this. But again, this is only possible if we have a 13 here. Of course, I could not jump directly from the 12 to 1, because then this would go on indefinitely, apparently. But that's already the turn of our blue friend. Let's move over to player 3 here. And our green friend happens to have a black 13 here. So the next player could now play a black 1 on top of this. But of course, again, also whatever different color 13. And on the right hand side, I think he also doesn't have a problem. He can play a yellow 3. This was already the very first turn for all the players. Back to us. And here it's looking pretty good. We have a yellow 1 we can play to the right hand side, and we have the black 1 here for the left hand side. This is really awesome. So yeah, should we do that? Because we could now really start playing it pretty mean. For example, we could also play this 13 on top of this and really make the others play whatever, a white card. But because if I play the 1 now here, the next player can basically play any card that's higher than a 1. So it makes it really easy for the other player to do that, or to play a card. So I think this is really something where the game gets really interesting, because you always have to do those choices. I will now do it and play it relatively straightforward. So I will play this 1 and play it on top of this card here, of this deck here. So right now that's perfectly fine. All the other players go, hey, cool, why did you do that? Awesome. But I'm making it pretty difficult for the right hand side here, because I'm playing the 1. So the next card that can go here has to be either whatever, a red 1 for example, or a yellow 13. Back to R2, and even though he could play it differently, I think he will play it somewhat mean. So he will play a black 9 on top of this. So it's really making a huge jump here from 1 to 9. So really he knows that he makes things more difficult for the other players. But on the right hand side, he really has a problem, because he doesn't have a yellow 13, and he also doesn't have a 1 of a different color. So in this case, I think he will now go for the cook. The cook is pretty inexpensive, so he will spend 1 coin here, and he will hire this cook. This now gives the card he's playing a +3 or a -3. It's not an up to, it's really exactly 3, minus or plus. And in this case, he's going to play that 4 on top of this card, and because it's accompanied by this cook here, it's now a 3, a virtual 1 in this case. But as soon as I've played it, so the next player will definitely again look at a 4. So this is really only a virtual change in this case, but for him it was definitely a good decision, because 1 coin is definitely not a bad thing. Last thing to do is to slide those guys down and replenish it with a new card, and this is a very powerful one, pretty much a joker. It allows you to play any card on top of one of those piles. But that's already the end of R2. Yoda doesn't look happy too, to be honest, but good thing is we all have our starting coin. So in this case, he's going to hire that samurai up there. So for 1 gold again, that's really cool. And this samurai allows you to simply flip this card. Isn't that awesome? So now on this pile we have to play cards that are lower value, and on the right hand pile now we have to play cards that are of a higher value. For him that's great, because here he can play a black 2 now. That's also a mean thing. And on this one here, I think, yeah, he will place a white 5. So perfect for him. Of course, this card has been taken. All the others will slide down. We will reveal a new card. Here we see a new samurai. It's similar, but this samurai here, for example, allows you to play a card of a lower value to the right hand side of this card here. Normally it's a plus, but with Samurai you would change this for this one placement only to a minus, which can be definitely helpful. My hand is still looking good, so here I will play a white 2 onto the black 2, which is perfectly fine. And on this card I think I will play another mean one here, so I will play a 12 on top of this, and those piles are really getting big. And normally it's really a good idea to empty those piles every now and then, because whenever you cannot play a card to either of those sides, or maybe to both sides, you have to take all the cards that in this pile. So all those shurikens will go to your trick pile and pretty much will make you lose the game in the end. But you also get the amount of coins that are printed on all of those cards in this pile. So this gives you the opportunity, to buy or to hire powerful citizens from the market. But that's already the end of our turn. And then it's back to our Astromech friend here. Left-hand pile is not really a concern, so he can play a red 2 on top of this. But again, he has a problem with the right-hand pile here. So again, he has to ask for the help of a citizen here. So I think he will go for this geisha here. Again, he will have to pay 1 coin. Right now, those guys are really coming in pretty handy, so they are really cheap. Normally, that's not the case. So very often you find yourself in the position that you have to pay at least 2, 3, or even 4 or 5 bucks in order to get the proper card you need. But in this case, that's pretty straightforward. So we will, basically buy some time from her, and this allows him to have a look at this pile here and will be allowed to place any one of those cards on top of it. And I think he will go for this card here for now. Now he will be able to play a card on top of this, and now he's capable of doing that, so he will play a red 5 on top of that. And I just notice all those trees are in the wrong position. Doesn't really look nice. Of course, those guys slide down. Okay, this is a card that gives you some additional gold. Can be helpful, especially when you get those guys cheap. Then it's our Jedi Master. He doesn't have any problems whatsoever. He was actually pretty happy seeing those cards, and I think on this side he will again play a very, very mean card, and those piles are really insanely big. So normally I wouldn't have them grow like that. At some point in time I usually try to decide, hey, maybe let's get this pile, let's get some gold. Maybe it's okay to get 1 shuriken or 2 or so, but that's still good enough for the coins you get. Because at some point in time you're getting to the situation where you cannot really play something meaningful, and that's exactly where we are right now. There are citizens out there right now who could help me, but unfortunately I don't have enough money to get all of the cards I need. So in this case, wow, maybe there is something I can do. Yeah, there is. Okay, I can hire Konohana pretty much here. She allows me to get the coins from all the cards that are in either pile. I'm not allowed to have a look at those piles at this point in time, so I have to do an educated guess. And right now I see this little 2 on top of this. So I think I will go for this pile here. And this is a pile that provides me with 11 coins. I think I was playing this pretty stupid because, of course, some of the other guys could have gone for it already. So at least Yoda or R2 also would have paid 1 or 2 at that point in time, or maybe even 3 would be still worth it. But yeah, I missed the chance here. So anyway, I get 11 bucks. But I'm still in the same situation as I was before, but now I have a lot of bucks with me or coins with me in order to hire some other citizens. I will start with Konohana here, so I have to pay 3 now. It's still the 3rd position here, so 1, 2, 3. She is pretty much a wild card, so she allows me to play any card on top of a pile. So I will definitely ask for her help. And I think I will play this card here on top of that pile. And for the right hand side, I will hire this samurai here for 4 coins. So for my 11, I already spent 7 coins now, and sometimes that's really, really necessary. And again, this guy allows me to play a lower value card right now. Of course, it still has to match the color. In this case, I will play a red 4, but that was pretty much it. Was okay, was expensive, but at least I was not supposed to take even either of those piles, and those would have been a lot of victory points. And to be honest, I would not have been able to recover from that. Even though we would play 2 more entire rounds, but I think that would be really tough to catch up. Let's slide the rest down. Here's another cook with +1 and -1. Here's another samurai, pretty much the same, but for the other hand side. And this gauger allows me to trade card between player A and player B, for example. R2D2 is doing fine, so he will play a red 8 on top of this. And here he will play a black 4, which is fine. Okay, back to the Jedi Master. He will play this red 7 here, and here he has a problem, but I think he can hire this cook here for 3 coins. This gives him a +1 or a -1. He will make this one a +1, so this is pretty much considered to be a white 4 in this case. We would remove it. Let's replenish the offering here. This goes back to the bank. And then it's our last turn. Keep in mind the round lasts until all of the players only have 2 more cards in their hand. So these will be the last 2 cards I will play this round. One of them is pretty much okay, so I think I can easily play this card here. And of course, that's definitely a mean decision to play it like this. On the other hand, here I have a problem because I'm totally out of any red cards whatsoever, and the offering on the, let's say, for the citizens is also not really great. So even this samurai doesn't help me because, yeah, again, I don't have any red cards with me. There are no cooks available whatsoever. The only citizen that could really kind of help me is this geisha here, and she allows me to have a look at the other player's card and basically exchange one of those cards with one of the cards of my own. And this one is more or less like something like a more blind trade, so I think this is the safer bet. So yeah, I think I have to go for it. So I will pretty much pay 5 coins. That's incredibly expensive. And as I apparently know the cards of my fellow players, I will roll the die now. 1, 2, 3 is my player to the left. 4 to 6 is my player to the right. That's 1, 2, 3. So I can have a look at the cards of R2, and here is the perfect card, of course. Both of those cards are actually great, but I think I will go for this card here. This is kind of mean, but it leaves him in the decision to do anything. So I think for him it's still okay, but it helps me a lot. So I think, yeah, let's just give him this card here in return, and now I'm able to play my last card onto this pile here. I have 2 more cards left, so I'm out. None of the players so far had to get either of those piles, which is really, it's not happening very often, to be honest. That's basically the first time I see that, to be honest. But yeah, that's how it is. Going back to the offering here. So this is the last guy we can hire, another cook. He can be valued, but all the other guys are pretty broke, to be honest. So no one will be able to afford this cook at this point in time. On this side, R2 will play this card here. And on the right-hand side, I think there is really nothing he can do. He could go for one of those cards, but it doesn't really help him at all, to be honest. Wow. This will be really, really, really tough. So he has to take this whole pile now. Of course, he gets all the coins that are printed in, and that's a good thing because coins that you keep from let's say from the current round go over to the next round, and whoever is broke for the next round starts the next round pretty broke too. So I have to do some counting here, and that's pretty much 16 impressive coins. And I think before we pass over to the next player, I think he will hire this daimyo here. It only costs him 1 coin, and the good thing about this guy is he can now remove one of his trick cards out of his trick pile here, and he gets double the amount of coins that it has shuriken. So I think for this time it's easy. He will basically discard this card, and this gives him 4 more coins for the next round. Not too bad. And I think that's pretty much it. Of course, he still has to play a second card because this cannot be empty, and he will now play the highest card he currently has. Really a pity. So he will play it like this, and then he would pass it over to Yoda. But of course, we must not forget to replenish the offering, so we had to reshuffle this pile here. The right-hand pile isn't really a problem, so he can play this 13 on top of this. The left-hand pile definitely is. Right now, there are no cards whatsoever. He could gamble. He could really gamble, to be honest. But should he do that? That's tough. No, I think not. I think it's the very first round, so yeah. He has to take this pile here. Good thing is he gets a hell of a lot of coins, but also see for yourself a hell of a lot of those shuriken symbols. So this is really, really not looking good for our green player here. So not sure, I will not do the counting, so he will just take those cards into his personal trick pile. He will play a card, but again, this card doesn't really matter because it's the end of this round. And now we would tally up the score. So each player will count his shuriken symbols. I think in this case those are only 8, which is pretty okay, to be honest, for this pile he was taking. On the other side of the table, it's not looking so good. I think these were now 17 shurikens or so, which is really bad, but at least he will start the next round also with a hell of a lot of those coins. I didn't count those really. But what will happen next? All those cards are really getting shuffled back together. You're now supposed to write down your score pretty much. This will carry over to the next 2 rounds. Keep in mind we are playing 3 rounds in a 3-player game. And here I really hope that the final product will come with some kind of a scoring help to really help you keeping track of how well or bad you actually did. And then again, everything is shuffled back together. All the players will get 12 cards, and then we will play 2 more rounds. And again, whoever has the least amount of victory points by the end of the 3rd round in a 3-player game will have the full favor of the goddess Konohana, and yeah, will be the winner of Sakura. And yeah, that's how you play Sakura. Keep in mind, it's currently on Kickstarter, and so really make sure you grab yourself a copy of this nice but awesome little game. We enjoy this game so much in our family. We really like to be mean to each other, playing those high cards when there are still, let's say, in-betweens cards that you could play. Whatever, how those citizens work, it's really, really a fun and clever little game. Of course, you will find a link to the campaign in the description of this video. So again, make sure to check out the campaign, and yeah, hope to see you soon in one of my other videos, and until then, bye bye.